Top 10 non-conference games of 2022 right here at the Voice of College Football. Please like the video. Share these videos out on social media. You enjoy the content, others will as well. And subscribe, of course. Hit that bell for the notifications to know when we go live. Pretty much our feedback here at the Voice of College Football is that you love the call-in shows, and we enjoy them as well. So hit that bell for the notifications to know when we go live. And also on our 25 team channels and 9 team-specific live streams weekly. All right, here's the top 10. Keep in mind that I reviewed 44 non-conference games, so there's going to be a later video under the radar best non-conference games of 22. These are the top 10 for various reasons. Like game number 1 could turn out to be a blowout, but in terms of brand and image, this is a power matchup like a few others. At number 10, we've got Alabama and Texas on September 10th in Austin. Of course, Steve Sarkisian has moved from the Alabama coaching staff as offensive coordinator to Texas. His first season was rough. He got off to a decent start, blew the lead against Oklahoma, finished at 5-7. Bama poised, played great in the big games. Under Nick Saban, they have clobbered every one of these non-conference games. Usually, though, they are played at neutral sites in Atlanta and Houston and otherwise. But Alabama, under Nick Saban, is phenomenal against the likes of Florida State, West Virginia, Wisconsin, Michigan, USC, and others non-conference. This time it's at Texas, though. A road game for the Tide for the first time since Penn State a decade ago, game number 10. At number 9, we've got a rematch from a 2021 game that was played at Neyland Stadium. So Tennessee this time goes to Heinz Field to take on Pitt. It was a shootout the first time around. Hendon Hooker had a under-the-radar tremendous 21 season, 31 touchdowns, 3 picks. He's a dual-threat quarterback and a dark horse Heisman candidate. Taking on Pitt, the Panthers will be coming off a difficult game against West Virginia in the backyard brawl. So look out for that in terms of Pitt getting off to a possibly rough start in 2022. Tennessee and Josh Heupel looking to build upon what they started in 21 with a date at Pitt in week 2. All right, game number 8, September 17th. We've got Oklahoma at Nebraska. It appeared to be a mismatch as a 3-touchdown spread this past season, but Nebraska, as they typically do, went on the road, lost by 1 score. They took Oklahoma down to the last possession, 23-16. This time, we've got a Big 12 transfer quarterback starting at Nebraska and Casey Thompson. Of course, Oklahoma with a new quarterback in Dylan Gabriel. Oklahoma in Lincoln to take on the Huskers, one of the great rivalries in college football during the 70s and 80s and 90s. Renewed here the last 2 seasons, this time in Lincoln, game number 8. At number 7, interesting matchup here, September 3rd, we've got Cincinnati taking on Arkansas in Fayetteville. Of course, the Bearcats are the darlings of the group of 5, and finally, that team, that program, Luke Fickell, that pushed down the door and made the college football playoff in the 8th college football playoff as a group of 5 team, lost to Alabama. So Cincinnati, the premier group of 5, taking on the SEC's Arkansas Razorbacks. KJ Jefferson at quarterback. He's coming on as a dark horse Heisman candidate as well. Sam Pittman, what a job he has done in lifting Arkansas from the mire and the muck to top 15 status in college football, 9-4 with a bowl win over Penn State. Cincinnati, Arkansas, our game number 7. At number 6, we've got a date in Gainesville on September 3rd, week 1, Utah at Florida. The Utah Utes, winners of the Pac-12, took the Buckeyes of Ohio State down to the wire in the Rose Bowl, bring back Cameron Rising to lead the team on offense. And once he was implemented into the lineup as the starting quarterback in case of Brewer at quarterback, Charlie Brewer, that's when the Utes took off and went on the big winning streak to get to the Rose Bowl. Taking on Florida, Billy Napier, Anthony Richardson now at quarterback. Huge first season for Billy Napier and a huge first game right out of the gate. Doesn't get any warm-ups against the South Florida's, FIU's, as Dan Mullen did last year. Utah at Florida, great week 1 matchup in Gainesville. All right. Game number 5 is a traditional matchup that we always look forward to, November 26th, regardless of how good the teams are, but they should be really good this year. USC hosting Notre Dame at the Coliseum. Marcus Freeman, of course, at this point of the season will have a good read on whether he was able to maintain or even upgrade the output of Brian Kelly's team there in South Bend. USC with Caleb Williams at quarterback and Lincoln Riley, of course. Will they make a huge splash, as many expect in their first season in the Pac-12? USC hosting Notre Dame on the last weekend of the season. Game number 4, we go to the opener again, the weekend of September 3rd in Atlanta. Oregon, trying to make a statement for itself and for the Pac-12. They were able to do it last season against Ohio State. They have failed in other seasons against LSU and Auburn. Oregon, Georgia. Dan Lanning, a bit of a homecoming for him, as of course he led the Georgia defense to the number 1 ranking, the national championship, and the best defense we've seen in years in Athens. He's gone cross-country, and he is the new man, of course, leading the Oregon Ducks. Oregon, Georgia, Bo Nix will probably be the starting quarterback for the Oregon Ducks, returning to take on an SEC foe, a familiar one that he faced, of course, 3 times at Auburn. Game number 3, interesting cross-sectional matchup that we don't see very often. Not a usual matchup here. September 17th at College Station as Texas A&M hosts Miami. Jimbo Fisher brings in the best recruiting class in the country, maybe of all time. He has stacked classes top 5 in the nation now 3 years in a row. Will Texas A&M make that leap that many expect them to? Well, they're going to have to get through the Canes, and Miami has the best team on paper in the ACC Coastal Division. Mario Cristobal, of course, at the helm, saved the recruiting class of 2022. Should be a tremendous Tyler Van Dyke matchup against Max Johnson, the new quarterback coming in from LSU at Texas A&M. Canes and Aggies at College Station are game number 3. Game number 2 pits a couple teams that are familiar with each other because of Notre Dame's contract with the ACC. Clemson goes to South Bend November 5th to take on the Irish. Of course, Clemson went there 2 years ago, minus Trevor Lawrence and some key defensive starters, and lost in overtime. DJ Uiagalelei had a big game with over 400 yards passing, but again, the Irish survived. But they had the rematch in the ACC championship game, and Clemson throttled Notre Dame 34-10. At this point in the season, we should have a good read on Marcus Freeman's team at Notre Dame. They have played these 2 teams, Clemson and Notre Dame, in 2015, 18, and 20 twice. Of course, Clemson has gotten the best of them most of that time. They match up. Clemson at Notre Dame, November 15th at South Bend. Game number 1 also involves Marcus Freeman taking on his alma mater. Notre Dame at Ohio State, September 3rd at the Shoe. The Buckeyes are 4-0 against Notre Dame since 1995. Notre Dame typically loses. And when I mean typically, just about every time, loses the marquee matchups, as they have against the Buckeyes 4 times in the last 25 years, when they have to face a top-notch team in non-conference play. Let's see if Marcus Freeman is going to turn that around for Notre Dame. Huge matchup here from a tradition standpoint and from a here and now 2022 standpoint. Ohio State gunning for a national championship, Notre Dame as well, in Columbus, September 3rd. Huge ramifications right there. That's my top 10 based on who do we want to see on the field play each other and based on just brand names going at it. That's my top 10, but again, I looked at 44 games, so I'd love to see your list down below right here at the Voice of College Football. See you next time.